Thanks a whole lot, Paul. Thanks a lot, everybody, for coming out on, I guess, a little bit of short notice, as Paul had said. Happy to be in town. Love visiting here in London. It's got a pretty vibrant community in the crypto space. And so I'd like to talk to you guys a little bit about what we've been up to at Edge and how it applies for other blockchain applications, as well as how it might even apply for just general data security. That's been our focus for some time, what we've been building for the past 4 years. Our company has been around for about 4 years. And kind of go into the first slide to describe who exactly we are. So once again, my name is Paul Puey. I'm CEO and co-founder of Edge. And we had founded the company in 2014 for many people that had used mobile wallets, especially in the US, which is where we had a lot of our user base. We were branded as Airbits. So we launched as Airbits as just simply a mobile wallet for Bitcoin. It was Bitcoin only. It was only on mobile. And it was fairly monolithic. It was just simply your app. And our big goal in building that was really to try to make key management in a wallet much more familiar and usable. If you've used Bitcoin wallets in the past, you'll notice that the key management is probably the most unfamiliar part, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So as an app for Bitcoin, we actually won a few great accolades, being nominated as one of the top 3 mobile apps for Bitcoin at the Blockchain Awards, and won a few different startup pitch competitions. So I think people liked what we were building, and what we wanted to do was then refocus that specific part of our wallet, the key management, into an entire platform. And that's where we kind of changed and rebranded as Edge. And with that change also came not just the ability to put our tech to secure keys into other applications, but to use it ourselves in a multi-currency wallet. So let's talk about, since we're talking about security and how it applies to crypto, let's talk about what it actually feels like today, and why have we kind of come across this problem of security, and why has crypto created this problem? So if you look at it, cryptocurrency, it's unique with respect to the fact that it requires private keys. This is nothing new to most people that have been in crypto for a while. And for the first time ever, you actually can hold an infinite amount of value, as much as you could afford to put into it, into a small string of data. And so data has always had some value before. But having value doesn't mean your money. So my photos have value to me, my personal documents have value to me, maybe your secret corporate records have value to you, but if someone else takes it, now that value kind of gets shared. It doesn't get 100% lost to you, it now kind of gets shared. But a blockchain private key has value that once someone else sees it is completely gone to you. There's not even nostalgic value in seeing those letters and numbers anymore. It's just gone. And so we never had that before. So now data equals money, and so the need to secure that data becomes absolutely paramount. And a lot of the models that we've used to secure data in the past just kind of don't work. And so why is it a challenge for us? Well, let's look at what it looks like to secure a private key. So this is a screenshot from a Bitcoin wallet from years ago. They don't use this system anymore, but when you created the wallet, you're required to, or you were given 15 random letters and numbers as your password, and then you had a PDF file that you had to save from your phone. How often do you ever have to create a financial app that says, hey, take this PDF file and save it from your phone? And I actually had that PDF file that I needed to save, and I saved it, and I don't know where I put it, and I do have some crypto that I've actually lost myself. So definitely, I mean, it's not impossible to do this process, but it's definitely intimidating, and most of all, it's very different. This next one is probably one that you're very familiar in seeing. Almost all of you, if you don't have money that's only in an exchange, but you actually own some crypto, you've probably done this before, which is the 12 words. And it's, once again, it's not hard. I came from a meetup in Madrid where they said in Spanish, it's just fucking 12 words. That's all it is. How hard could it be? But the interesting thing about just 12 words is not that it's 12 words, it's what you have to do to it. There's 2 polar opposite requirements in securing crypto. One is, don't lose it. Number 2, don't let anyone else access it. Those are very polar and competing requests. In humanity, there's a thing that we say very frequently. It's called out of sight, out of mind. So you somehow have to take this thing and make it very out of sight, but somehow keep it in mind. And if you look at the frequency that people upgrade technology, especially mobile phones, since this was on a mobile phone, that frequency is about the frequency that people lose crypto. Because it's when they realize they've upgraded their phone and they need to restore it onto a new one that they're like, where did I put that backup? In the US, I noticed that this has almost perfectly to do with how long you can have a subsidized phone before your telephone company will actually subsidize another one. In the US, it's about 2 years. And that's about when I run into people that say, oh, I lost my keys because they got a new phone and they now don't have that backup. So it's not hard, it's just polar opposites of what our brain normally does. I like to show this next one just because it's a funny example. This is one of our partners that uses our platform. I won't say who they are, but their initial deployment of the app, when you went to go create and use the app, you would first enter a password, right? Just like you normally would. Then it generated your username. And that was your username, big giant string of 300 plus letters and numbers. You had to save that off somehow. And when you wanted to log in to their app on another device, you basically used that as your username. And you couldn't ever change your password, and you couldn't really ever lose it as well. So this is kind of the thing that we've introduced into the crypto world as, hey, we want mass adoption. Let's go ahead and drive people towards these types of solutions, which, like I put on the very top, it's unfamiliar, it's unforgiving, and definitely intimidating for people that haven't been in crypto for a while. And ironically, if we look at how crypto has been lost, when I say lost, meaning you don't have access to it, whether it's stolen or whatnot, the number one reason is actually just user error. We've screwed it up ourselves. This is by far the largest cause of loss. And this is just an estimate from Fortune magazine as to the amount of crypto, specifically Bitcoin even. This isn't even crypto, this is just Bitcoin. And as we know, there's more than double the market cap of other crypto in the world. But estimates about that $20 billion, about 4 million coins that are not recoverable. It's still an estimate, we don't know definitively, but that's a rough guess, and most people I talk to say about that same number. So what's a solution to this that we could possibly do? We could store it with a central service, which is really, really good at being able to make sure you don't lose the keys. Meaning, okay, we'll have a whole IT department, and we have servers everywhere, and we've got redundant backups, and so we've been doing this for years, and so let's store it with them. And this is actually what a lot of people do. We know that a lot of crypto, even just one company in the space, holds about 10% of all Bitcoin. Then they're holding it for you. It's not your cryptocurrency. So centralizing the keys, while it is a solution that people have been using, we know has problems. We know that there's a huge amount of incentive to attack central servers. And it's not necessarily a challenge of technology, it's actually a challenge of game theory and a challenge of motivation and incentive. You've just created too big of a honeypot for people to get into. And we've never had a honeypot like that before. Because like I said, we've had to secure data before. But that data was never anonymous, almost untraceable digital money. And so this now creates the second cause of loss. So first one being user error, second one being hacks on centralized services. And I don't think this list is anywhere near complete. There's definitely much more services that have been hacked and caused people significant loss of funds. So like I'd mentioned, just there's too much incentive to get into this type of a system. No matter how much you put into securing that data, the more you grow. So imagine an exchange. The more customers they get, the more value they hold, and now the more people they have to employ to be able to secure that, and therefore the more people they have to trust to not compromise. And hence it's a very unscalable problem. So what's the solution that we could employ? So what we've built over at Edge is a concept that actually predates our company. So there's a concept called edge security, which is simply take data and secure it at the edges of the network. And at the edges of the network, or corners of the network, really the nodes of the network, as someone corrected me a while ago, are people. It's you, it's I, it's the devices that we own. It's not on a central server. It's not with a custodian. It's with our own devices. And the beauty of this model is that it inverts the incentive model of attacking the system, because the system is now distributed. You don't attack one part of it, you have to attack each individual piece. And the second beauty of that is with the reward that comes from the attack. The reward is now just whatever individual devices you're able to get into, not the aggregate of everyone's value and everyone's data. So it increases the difficulty, but also lowers the reward. Hence, if you're an attacker, typically you want to go after the slowest gazelle, which is probably and also the bigger and fatter one. And that tends to not be this type of a system. And so the SDK that we built, so this is what we've been doing as a company over the course of 2017. We kind of went heads down. I just was talking to someone over here who says, hey, where were you guys over the past several months or years? Well, over 2017, we took that code base of Airbits, which was a Bitcoin wallet, and we said, let's take this and make it a platform that other apps can use. With the explosion of decentralized apps, suddenly we have apps that do insurance and social media and betting and loans, and all of them actually are wallets. But they're trying to solve a harder security problem with, say, smart contract security. And all of them effectively need some aspect of key management. So we built an SDK that automatically does a lot of things. None of these are, most of these are not really new. They just haven't been packaged up to be easy to use. So first and foremost is just simply encryption. Encrypt the data, but don't accept the word encryption all by itself. You always have to ask, well, where is the data being encrypted, and who has the key to unlock it? So in this SDK, data gets encrypted only on their device, and only the end user can unlock it. They're the ones with the credentials to unlock it. And then, like we mentioned, people forget and lose keys. Have that data automatically backed up. So it's automatically backed up so that if they lose a device, they still can get access to that data by just logging into a new one. And then device synchronization. We're kind of a multi-device world. You probably have a laptop, maybe you have a mobile, maybe you have a tablet. And we want to be able to get access to that data on different devices conveniently by just simply logging in. Revision control, inadvertent editing of data, corruption of data, we can roll back data to an older version. One-touch, two-factor. This is a cool little nugget of security that we added to our system. How many people here use Google Authenticator? It's going up every time I speak. This is awesome. So great. So you guys are using Google Authenticator, which is a good sign that we're driving a good security solution to people. However, the user experience is the question. I use Google Authenticator, but I use it for almost all my websites, which means I've got about 30, 40 different pages of Google Authenticator codes that I have to scroll through. And literally just finding the code is a user experience nightmare. Not forgetting that I still have to copy and paste the code and do it within 30 seconds, otherwise the code expires and I have to go do it all over again. What we did is we actually took the Google Authenticator protocol, verbatim, exactly how it's supposed to work, and we baked it into the app. So the app does, there's a little gnome hiding inside of the SDK that basically generates that 6 digits and automatically shares it with the server. So you never have to. You don't see it. You just simply turn it on. So that's why we call it one touch. Tap a button, turn it on, and you forget it's even there. It automatically two factors and protects you in case someone else, somewhere across the world, gets access to your credentials, your username and password. And for convenience, we're all used to biometric login. For apps that are on mobile, they automatically get that functionality where you can Face ID or Touch ID to get in. And then the big nugget that we've built, fairly unique in the space, is password recovery for encrypted data. So we're all used to password recovery for centralized services and websites because they really hold your data, where if you hold it, it's really hard to recover an encryption password. But we have that baked in. It's a little different than what you'd be accustomed to, but it is still what I'd call much more familiar to the average user. And all of that is packaged up in a fairly easy-to-use SDK that gives the users kind of the familiarity of just creating an account and logging in. To take that user experience kind of one step further, we actually built a single sign-on feature on top of it. So users with our new app, Edge Wallet, can actually single sign on to multiple apps that use our SDK. So one account allows them to simply log in to others. And you might be used to single sign-on by using like Google or Twitter or Facebook to just log in with Facebook. Difference is all of those services require you to trust that company, such as Facebook, because Facebook now can log into any of those sites without your permission, without you realizing it if there's a vulnerability on their side. With Edge Login, which is what we call our single sign-on, you're actually passing encrypted data from your phone directly to a client-side application, a dApp, such as one of our partners. And so it's really passing of encrypted data, and no one sees that data. Only you do, and only the client-side application does. And in the course, or in the case of decentralized apps, that data is a private key so that those apps can communicate on a blockchain. And so what does it look like if you're building a desktop-based application? It would look just kind of like this, where a user can create an account, tap a button, create an account inside of your app. Unlike login with Facebook, they don't have to go to Facebook to create an account. They can actually create it inside of your app. Or they can actually use a barcode and just scan it with Edge Wallet, and then their account is created or they're logged in. And so for how many people here are developers? A small handful. Okay, I'll keep this part short. So for those of you that are developers and maybe those that might be building apps on blockchain tech, the SDK is built on JavaScript, ES6, so it's fairly cross-platform. It runs on mobile, it runs on the web, it runs on desktop using HTML. React Native is the platform it uses for mobile, iOS, and Android, so it's cross-platform there. It actually can run on the command line as well. It wouldn't have all of that UI, it'd be command line, but it would run under Node. So you can actually execute commands to log into an account, decrypt an account, and actually send transactions. We do use native C++ to accelerate some of the cryptography, the password hashing, to make sure that we have as strong of password hashing as we possibly can on a device. And from the viewpoint of what it looks like to a developer, that entire UI that you saw that popped open the login screen of the QR code and it transitioned to creating an account or transitioned to logging them in, all of that was actually built for you, and it required basically one line of code that says open a login window. And that's it. After that, the user could navigate through that entire UI doing whatever they want in order to get logged in, whether it's creating an account, logging in with a PIN, logging in with a password, or scanning a barcode. And then once the user is done with that, you effectively, as a developer, can create a wallet and stick a key into it. Right? That's an Ethereum key that's being stuck in there, that line in the middle, Ethereum key. And then later when they log in, there's just a slightly different command. It just says, get me the key out of the pre-existing wallet, if that wallet already exists. So the idea here is really to keep key management as simple as possible and allow dApp developers to focus on what they're doing that's hard, as opposed to having to deal with the key management themselves. And so from a modularity point of view, the stack that we built is very modular in the sense that you can use a lot of it, a little of it, well, none of it, of course, is always an option. But the idea is that you have an app that you're building, you know, that's this kind of box on the left, such as what we also built, our own Edge Wallet app. And that top module, the accounts and login GUI, that's that entire UI you saw, at least for the desktop. We have a different looking but similar UI for mobile that shows all of the login, create account, biometric login. That calls into what's kind of our heart and soul at Edge, our Edge core. It's the one that does the encryption of the keys, the backup. It authenticates the user, decrypts. That's kind of the heart. But then it actually has these really cool optional modules, these plugins for various blockchains. So at minimum, if you just simply use the core, you could just encrypt data. That could be private keys, it could be just any kind of data, any sensitive data. But you can actually also use these plugins to talk to a blockchain, to say, hey, Edge, please send some Ethereum to this address. Or, hey, Edge, create me a wallet and give me my balance. Or send some Litecoin to this address. It's very kind of PayPal-like. It's very wallet-like of an architecture to basically do send and receive of tokens and other cryptocurrencies. And so one of the nice things is we can always plug in new blockchains, and we have new ones that are getting built. The rest of the stack doesn't have to change. So if someone builds a plugin for Edge to transact on, say, a Zcash blockchain, we get the benefit of that in our own app, but so does anybody else that's building on our SDK. They all get the benefit of being able to transact on that blockchain, not just us. And all of this is open source on GitHub. So you can check it out, github.com. It's still under our old company name, Airbits, but github.com/Airbits. So I want to give a little comparison. I'll actually talk about what many people would call the competition to what we're building. So these are solutions that dApp developers could use to help them manage keys. So on the right, it's MetaMask, Uport, and hardware wallet like Ledger. So there's pros and cons to all of this, and so you guys get to choose. That's the beauty of this industry. So one of the things to be aware of with these solutions is, number one, at least the middle and the one on the left, Uport and MetaMask, as of right now, are 100% only Ethereum. So if you're building a dApp on Ethereum, then okay, that can work for you. Number two, all three of these require your user base to not only access your app, whether it's download or whatnot, but they also have to install their app or their hardware. So you've added the friction of requiring two things, two companies, two brands, in order to use your app. So I install or go to your website, and then I also have to install MetaMask if I don't already have it. In contrast, Edge actually goes inside of your app. So a user never has to install our mobile app at all. If they already have it, it's a better user experience, but they don't need to have it. Right? Your app is fully standalone. As well with MetaMask, you actually have a limitation of, if you require only this, and there are a few apps that require MetaMask, that means your app can only run on a laptop or desktop computer with a Chrome or Firefox browser and nothing else. You can't run on a tablet, you can't run on a phone, you can't even be a native desktop app, you have to be a browser app. You can't even run it on a giant 12-inch iPad Pro with a keyboard and potentially even a mouse. Even though it's plenty big enough for your app, it just simply doesn't work. And with Uport, users have to download the mobile Uport app on their phone. And every single time your app wants to talk to the blockchain, the user has to bust out their phone and sign a transaction by scanning a barcode. Now, if your app doesn't talk to the blockchain very often, that might not be so bad. And so you've got a little bit of extra security there. But I don't know, how many people have ever used Steemit? A handful of people? It's a cool platform. I don't know if you realize, every time you click the upvote or make a comment, that actually goes to the blockchain. It actually writes data to the blockchain using your private key. And so if you had to scan a barcode every time you wanted to upvote or make a comment, that would probably break down the full user experience of the app. Like, it's just not something that you'd want to do. So really, it just depends on what kind of app you're building, how does it interact with the blockchain, and therefore you choose what kind of solution. Same thing with a hardware wallet. Every time you sign, you've got to approve the signature, bust out the USB drive, and plug it in. So just go compare and contrast. So that brings me to what we've built on our own platforms. That's the SDK. Here's what we built on top of the SDK, and this is Edge Wallet. This is what we've been working on a lot for 2017, both the platform and our app. And this is kind of the extension of the original Airbits, but now full multi-currency. And there's a handful of currencies that are supported. We launched with Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin Dash, and Ethereum. And then the developers from Feathercoin and Zcoin contributed support for their blockchains in the open source repo. As well, built into the platform is support for SegWit for Bitcoin and Litecoin, baked right in. For those that are aware, this gets a little technical, but BEC32 addresses, they are supported, but they're not exposed due to a standard that we're still waiting to see, a BIP49 standard spec. And one of the cool differences between this and other platforms is that it accesses the blockchain directly. So it doesn't go through us. So we're not required. I mean, we're not the only wallet that does this, but many wallets, while they might be non-custodial, meaning you control the keys, they still require all of the access of the blockchain to go through them and their infrastructure. So if their infrastructure is down, you can't access the blockchain. So unlike that, we access the network directly. As well, because we're not just write down 12 words, we actually secure data. We actually use that data security platform for things that are not private keys. So in the app, you'll notice you can actually add metadata for all of your transactions. So you could say, hey, I paid this person, or this was food and dining was the category of what I made this transaction for. For many people, especially in the privacy space, the crypto anarchists, they're like, oh, I'm never going to put that information in there. Now I'm giving information to you guys in Edge. You're going to be like the next Google and mine that and sell it. All that information is encrypted to the same degree as your private keys. It's encrypted, it's backed up, and it's synchronized. So you get the feeling of almost like having a cloud-based QuickBooks built into your app, but with the privacy of wallets of cryptocurrency. So that's been our goal. So don't have to preach privacy, just give it to people without them even realizing it. Then those of us that actually care about it just simply get it. As well, we do support ERC20 tokens, whether you like them or not. We have a handful that are baked into the app, so 4 of our partners that use our SDK, their tokens are right in there. But as well, you can add any token that isn't already supported, any ERC20. It's not friendly, but you can add the parameters. There's 4 parameters that define an ERC20 token on Ethereum. And you can copy, paste, type them in, and then the wallet will support that token automatically. As well, we just launched a new Ethereum protocol standard. I can't remember what EIP number it is, 70-something, but it actually is a URL format that can specify the token parameters, so that if any of you out there are building a dApp and you have a token, you can actually just put a QR code in your website, and then people can scan it, and the token will get added into the wallet automatically. You don't have to have your users enter the parameters manually. And so that's already baked into the app. It's deployed today. The standard is still being fully ratified, but it looks like it has very positive feedback, and it looks like it's going to go through as an Ethereum proposal. As well, modularity, we actually support also shapeshift between any supported token and blockchain that is inside of the wallet. We have an architecture that allows us to put plugins For exchange services, in Airbits, we partnered with Biddy.com in Europe and Kraken, Gladera in the US, so people can buy and sell with fiat. And so those are only two of the plugins that we supported in Airbits, but those are going to get ported over to Edge. If anyone is building a service that could interface with a wallet to provide things like buy-sell capabilities or gift cards, debit card integrations, they can actually write a tiny little HTML app that goes inside of our app and can interface between the wallet and your service. So one other partner that's launching soon offers a debit card. They happen to be one of the few that aren't shut down. And so inside of the wallet, you can top up your debit card without having to go to a separate website and not having to scan barcodes and paste public addresses. So it's a nice little plugin architecture that makes it really modular and extensible. As well, one of the fascinating things about the integration with partner dApps is that a lot of these dApps have currency in them, right? They're accessing a blockchain, they have a token, and they might maybe have some Ether. If you use Edge Wallet to sign into one of those apps, well, you didn't just give it the private key, but Edge Wallet can actually understand that private key if it's Ethereum or one of the supported currencies. It actually understand it, and you can see your balance inside of Edge Wallet that you also have inside of the dApp. So it actually becomes a kind of your hub for all the different dApp applications you might want to access. So you don't just have money inside of the dApps, but you have this one spot where you can manage balances and actually shapeshift directly from one dApp into another if they're supported. And then a call out, we'd like to be able to support more blockchains. The ones on this list are some of the highest in demand by users that kind of have pinged us. So if there's any developers out there that are interested in working on any of these and would want to work with us, we have some bounty projects out there. So we could definitely compensate for building a plugin to support some of these blockchains. And some of them are similar enough to the ones that we've already supported, like Ethereum and Bitcoin, where 80–90% of the work is actually already done. There's just some work that's more specific to these blockchains that would need to be done and validate for us to be able to ship it out. And then once again, once those are supported, then other people using our SDK get support for those blockchains as well. And one thing I'm really excited about, I've only got one slide for it though, is this concept of edge security, securing private keys. It doesn't have to just be private keys. The way that in our app we secure account info of who you paid and what the category of who you paid, we can apply that to other apps as well. I'd love to see someone build the actual Quicken QuickBooks accounting software, small business accounting software, using our platform so that all of the data on there is client-side encrypted, but it's synchronized so I can use it for multiple devices. And I could potentially share it with someone else as well, but all client-side secured, all edge secured. As well, I'm excited about the use of private keys, not just for cryptocurrency, but for authentication. I think this is how we should be authenticating to IoT devices. I think there was a hack last year of a bunch of light bulbs that were like IoT light bulbs and routers that DDoSed Facebook and Twitter, I believe, because someone got the root password to these IoT devices. If we were effectively using public-private key authentication, that wouldn't have happened to any of these devices. So we've had access to this tech, public and private keys, to authenticate to things. We've had access to this for decades. We just haven't really been able to deploy it to regular consumers because we haven't had a good solution for those people to secure private keys. So the beauty of what Bitcoin crypto has done is it's forced us to build a good solution for us to secure private keys, which we can now apply to other things and other data such as, like I'd mentioned, healthcare records, financial information, and even just sensitive notes, personal notes. I think Evernote was recently reported as being compromised and all of your notes are now public out on the interweb. Well, a secure encrypted Evernote wouldn't have this problem. And I'd love to, and I feel like it's actually a fairly simple app. Maybe not the full feature set of Evernote, but just some simple notes that you can keep client-side encrypted and backed up. So I'd love to see that get built on the platform as well. So it is an SDK, but as you saw from these previous screenshots, this is our actual app that we built on top of the SDK. So in the US, we call it eating our own dog food. So we are using it, we're deploying it, we're in production with it, and so, but other apps can use the SDK as well. So it's both.
So we can only use this if we're building an app and we want to integrate this into our app, we can't just use this as a separate wallet at the moment for our...
No, you absolutely could. So anyone here can simply go to edgesecure.co, and there's links to iOS and Android download. You can put it on your phone and use it as a cryptocurrency wallet, equivalent to all, a lot of the other wallets out there, except that you get a different type of key management where it's encrypted, it's backed up. You don't ever see 12 words. You can if you want. You can go in there and actually go and view your 12 words, but you don't have to. We do the encryption, the backup for you. You can enable two-factor. That's the benefit of it. As well, it just has some different bells and whistles, and its UI is different, and you might like it better than some of the other solutions. So what you could do, I'll give you an example. So Augur is one of our partners. They are a prediction market DApp application. They haven't launched yet, but the integration would look like this. You would go into Augur's application, and you'd log in with Edge, and you'd scan a barcode, and it would create an Ethereum wallet inside of their app. Their client-side application would now have an Ethereum wallet. That wallet will also show up now inside of your Edge wallet on your phone. In order to use it, or some aspects of their DApp will require their tokens. They're called rep tokens. Inside of the phone, I'll see my Augur wallet, and I can put rep tokens into it. And since it's the same private key that's inside of their browser-based app, the rep tokens will just show up there. So I effectively am able to transact the same money that's inside of this DApp from my phone, inside of Edge Wallet. It's effectively sharing keys between the two. Now, there's other wallets where you could manually do this. I could take 12 words and manually copy it from one mobile app into a desktop app. We're trying to make that user experience fluid. It's simple as that. Just really trying to fluidify that user experience of sharing encrypted data where you don't have to type it in.
Hi there. Thanks for the presentation. Could you just explain to me, I'm slightly confused, the automatic backing up, how does that work? Could you run me through that, please?
Yeah, so the backup does use servers, so we're not serverless. We're not trying to get, maybe that just answers your question outright. So we do have servers. The goal is don't trust them with everything. Right, so they're dumb servers. They don't see anything but encrypted data. They don't even see a name, a phone number, an email. There's no personal information on there at all. There's not even a username. Everything is hashed or encrypted before it touches the server. So it's a zero knowledge without being like zero knowledge proof. That's the way we've architected the system, so we just simply don't know anything. It's just dumb. All the pipes are dumb. All of the storage is dumb.
Hi there. As a user of a very glitchy update to iOS recently, I'm just interested to know how much of your development budget you spend on keeping up to speed with all the changes in the OS's devices, tablets.
Yeah.
You've obviously made a big thing of that, and it's appealing, but I'm just wondering how much you have to set aside from a finance point of view for keeping up to speed with that.
I don't know that I've actually been able to say this is a percentage of our budget. It will go a long time and not have to deal with that, and suddenly a big thing comes up. If you look at I'll use this as an excuse to bring up why we had a bad review or a bad blocker of reviews in Android. When we launched our application, we got like high 4-point something rating in iOS and like a mid 3-point something on Android, because a small series of phones, apparently very common in like Russia, were just crashing on launch, and we hadn't reproduced that at all in our own testing. And as well, I think Samsung, a very common phone, Samsung S7 or S8, but only the international version, would crash as well if someone enabled fingerprint. And it was an update that Samsung made in December. We launched in February. And all those people, it would just crash outright. And knowing that it was a very specific version of a phone was challenging. So that was a burst of exactly what you said. I feel like 50% of our time, until we solved the problem, was just that. We had one good supporter ambassador out of Thailand that reproduced a problem when we couldn't, because we got all these phones and we're like, we can't reproduce a problem. And we paid him double the value of the phone to ship it overnight, to get it to us so we could troubleshoot and figure out what it was. And it was fixed within a day. But admittedly, it's bursty is I guess the answer. iOS will sometimes update versions and nothing will break. And then the third year, suddenly everything changes and the whole app kind of dies and you have to put some effort into it. Ballpark figure, still though, it's frustrating when it happens. And I think it's one of those squeaky wheels. You feel it and you want to scream about it. but it's probably still well less than 3% of your total engineering time, in all honesty. You know? And so building on React Native does help us in some ways because it's a common code base that runs across both. There are some differences, but we get to minimize a lot of those differences being in that platform.
Can I use Edge login on public computers that might be compromised, that might have viruses? Is that still
It's
safe?
not so much the question of using Edge login, it's more of the question of using that DApp, right? Like actually using like Augur or Wings or whatever that DApp is. Using that on public compromised computers, probably that's the part that's not a very good idea in general, independent of Edge login or not. Because you actually have potentially keys that are running there, and you have an app running on what you said is like a fully public, potentially compromised computer. So I don't think that dApps in general should be run on public computers. Just the answer, that would be the answer that I would give.
Okay, and if I have a virus on my computer and I don't know it, and the keys are saved in the browser, is that right?
So it really depends on what the virus is doing. So the two most common pieces of malware are screen grabbers and keyloggers. The two most common that if you're going to get one, it's still not common, but if you get one, it's probably one of those two. The beauty is Edge login actually helps protect against that because there's nothing on the screen that you type that is sensitive, and there's nothing that on the screen that you can see that's sensitive. It's just a barcode, and that barcode is not sensitive in and of itself. You're just scanning on it. Now, if you actually created your account, then those credentials are sensitive at that moment until you enable two-factor. So two-factor helps protect against exactly that. So that's one of the benefits of what we build versus a conventional wallet in general, independent of Edge login, is that if you've got two-factor enabled, you're not actually entering a key into an app. You're not typing in that key. As well, you're not seeing it in order for you to back it up. Right, so when you back up a key, it's being shown on screen. And so if you had a screen grabber, then it would see your key. And if you're typing it in, then a keylogger would see it as well. So one of the benefits, so you never see the key, you never type it in, you're typing in credentials. Those credentials can be two-factored. A private key can't be two-factored. So that's one of the nice things about it. But of course, you do have to enable two-factor. We're looking at making it on by default in a future version, but not yet.
Just wanted to ask, how do you generate revenue? Do you take transaction fees above the blockchain fees?
Got it. So we generate revenue in a few different ways. So one way is inside of the application, if you use a lot of the plugin services like Shapeshift and any of the exchange partners, that's our key way of generating revenue right there. As well, the core of the wallet, right, not the GUI, not the plugins, that one is kind of a licensed open source. We have partners that are using a full rebrand, like there's no Edge login, there's no mention of Edge. It's a full white label of that core, and that we charge them for. Yep. For enterprise use, correct, exactly. So if any bank is out there and wants to use it, we'll charge you up the butt for it. But yeah, you're welcome to.
Hi there. Love the app. Just downloaded it, and the UX is really nice. It's really easy to install. It's great. However, I have one slight issue.
Sure, I'm sure. Only one?
Why have you got support for Bcash?
So fundamentally, that's a whole. Let's get a drink afterwards. So fundamentally, I have a pretty agnostic view on the different blockchains. I think what I've come to over the course of 2016, 2017, and going into this year is a realization that there's no good guarantee as to what blockchain will succeed. There's a healthy amount of competition out there, and let the different chains compete. Because while I still fundamentally believe, and my money's put on that, I fundamentally believe that Bitcoin has more than a 51% chance of being the dominant currency. It's not 100%. And by it not being 100%, there should be an opportunity for us to support, whether you call it by investing or using other currencies. So we're going to support the ones that we feel like have a chance, and support the ones that people want to use. I'm not going to take it into a political debate around like this or that, but there's a strong demand for the currencies that we launched with, and we'll stick by the side. You don't have to. You could turn off that wallet. You can delete that wallet. You don't have to use it. You can go ahead and just simply delete the Bitcoin Cash or the Litecoin or the Ethereum wallet and still keep the account that just has whatever currency you need to transact in. And simple as that. And so I think choice is a good thing. That's what this entire ecosystem was founded on, was the fact that we have choice and money. Well, it would be real a shame to say that, well, sure, the only choice is between fiat and Bitcoin. Because within the space of cryptocurrency, why are you going to lock everyone else out? I think choice is key, and we're going to continue to have that. And if you disagree with that, then don't use us.
A quick question. The password recovery function you mentioned, what data do you require for that, and how does that work?
I was waiting for someone to ask that question. That's a great question. So the way password recovery works, so the user experience of password recovery has the user first create a couple personal questions and answers. And the questions and the answers are not seen by anyone but the user, just straight off the bat, just so you know. Right? We use hashing and encryption to make sure no one sees that. As well, the user sends themselves an email with a link in it. Right? And it's not us sending the email, it's the user sending it to themselves. The application just creates it and crafts it for them, launches their email app, they just hit send, and it goes into their inbox. To do the recovery, they click on that link, and then they answer the questions, and that's it. So that's what the user experience feels like. That doesn't really describe what we're doing underneath the covers. So underneath the covers, what's happening is there's effectively like a second password that's being built that can access the account, and it's a big key. And then we kind of break it in half. The first half is actually being emailed to themselves, right? That email that they send has one half of the key. The other half of the key is going to our servers, along with encrypted and hashed questions and answers. So the answers to the questions, hashed, are what allow the user to download the other half of the key. Along with the key that's in their email, can get back access to their account. And this was strongly, strongly motivated by multisig. Think about it, multisig is a very, very similar concept in the sense that you can split your trust across two different parties. And BitGo does something similar as well, in the sense that they hold a key to sign while you hold a key to sign. We, instead of it being signature-based, because our infrastructure does not need a blockchain. Our infrastructure is purely encryption and backup. Instead of it being signature-based, it's encryption-based. It's two different keys that can come together to unlock the account. One thing that we've talked about that we'd like to see in the future is a social-based recovery, where instead of us having a key, you actually give a key to other people that you know and trust. Now, the challenge of that is we have to make sure that the platform by which you do that is fairly widely adopted, where those people aren't all going to lose their key as well. I know that if I went into this social recovery and I gave a key to my wife, my mom, blah, 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 they're more likely to lose it than I am because they hardly ever use crypto. So I think actually the first thing we need to do is actually get crypto widely used, and then these platforms get widely adopted, and then we can adopt a social recovery. It's like Facebook now actually deployed a social recovery piece of functionality. It's because everybody's on Facebook. Well, I say everybody, not everybody, but a whole lot of people are on Facebook. If barely anyone was on it, it wouldn't be very, very useful. And so I think that's the hindrance. So in the meantime, until we get to that point, the solution we have is a split key where we hold one, but we, by ourselves, don't have the ability to unlock the data.
How long will you support the Airbits wallet, and what's the user experience for transferring from the Airbits wallet to the Edge wallet? And then second question, any plans for doing anything second layer, or are you going to wait until it matures for a couple of years?
Got it. So first question was user experience for transitioning from Airbits to Edge. So the accounts are actually on the same back end, so you could literally just log in to Edge. Simple, just go and log in. If you have two-factor enabled, there is a token that you'll have to grab out of your settings and then either copy and paste that into Edge. But that's effectively it. You just log in. And then all that does is it then goes and downloads your encrypted wallets and decrypts it inside of Edge, and you can actually access them both sides. That effectively should be it. Yeah, hopefully I answered that question. As far as second layer, I'm assuming you're referring to something like Lightning. So I've looked at it very, very carefully. The challenge we have is that, number one, there aren't very many libraries available for Lightning. And as an app developer, you will always be dependent on layers of technology underneath you. So as an example, to transact on Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dash, and similar currencies, we use a library called Bcoin, which I know you're very familiar with. And we're dependent on that to be able to create transactions, parse transactions, create and derive addresses from private keys, all of that stuff. That doesn't exist for Lightning. And Lightning is so significantly different that it would need a library about 5 times that size with that amount of functionality for it to function. So needing that ecosystem to mature is definitely one of the pieces of the puzzle. As well, there's still unanswered questions. Like, having talked to pretty ingrained Lightning developers about some like, okay, how is this going to be accomplished? How's that going to be accomplished? A lot of the answers are still hand wavy. And so it's hard to say, okay, we're going to dedicate a certain amount of engineering resources to start to build when the answers aren't there yet. And so when those answers are at least there, and then we know what to build, then the bottleneck is, well, some of the tooling underneath for us. But now there's like multiple things that are kind of a challenge. And as still a young startup in this space, if that was all we were doing, could focus on that, then okay, but we're broader than that. Like, you know, as a pure security platform, we have to do documentation and support our partners. And so, you know, like I mentioned, these are all plugins. Like Bitcoin's a plugin. Someone is very welcome to contribute support to that, even if it's a small test net, you know, play around with it. It's all open source and other people can play with it. It won't just be us. So we invite anyone to try to contribute support. We'd love to see it.